Well, hey, welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. And today I'm joined by my friend Tamany Hall. She has trained 130,000 real estate professionals to build businesses that don't live or die by the algorithm. She teaches agents and service-based entrepreneurs how to show up with strategy to use AI to actually make more money and get in rooms where real business actually happens. Tamany, I'm so excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. And, dear listener, if you check out Tamany's socials, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, she's cute. She knows what she's doing. She has such a wonderful presence online. And I have had the pleasure of getting to know you a little bit offline as we connect with other successful female entrepreneurs. And I'm just so curious, Tamany, like in 2026, what do you think is the most important thing for people to focus on when it comes to social media?
That's a big question. I think people get really bogged down in you have to do this, you have to do that. And they listen to this guru who's telling them to do this. And then that guru is telling them to do that. And then they just get really confused because it doesn't all work together. There's so many different ways social media can work for you. And thinking about if you are doing the activities that you're supposed to be doing to lead generate. My niche is real estate agents. So for example, if you're door knocking, if you're hosting open houses, if you are doing flyers or events, if you're doing those activities, the content should be easy because you're doing something to film. If you're sitting in your office and being like, I don't know what to post today, it's probably because you're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing to grow your business. So that would probably, everyone says authenticity. And that in my mind is what that means is being authentic with, hey, this is what I'm doing for my business today. Showing your audience that you walk the walk and you don't just talk the talk.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. I have heard this term, building in public as well, so I have worked with real estate folks before. I tend to do a lot more, service-based businesses in general. And I'd say the same thing. I mean, if you don't feel like you have anything to talk about, it might be time to do something. And like, it doesn't even have to necessarily be speaking at a big event, although you should definitely, capture that, or being out in your car and out in the community if that's not true for you. But I agree that like if you're doing something, then you can capture it. Like you don't have to create the content totally separately. Yeah, I love that. You're actually about to do at the time of this recording, the recording will come out well after you do it, but you're about to speak to a bunch of experienced entrepreneurs about using Instagram more effectively. And I was just curious if you'd be willing to tease just a few things that you would tell someone who's maybe been in business for a little while and they might have been holding Instagram at arm's length.
Yeah. Instagram is a beast in the sense that there's so many different things you can do inside of it. If you compare it to something like YouTube, you can post a video, watch a video, comment on a video. Like that's pretty much it. Whereas like Instagram, there's so many different buttons and things to post, and you can post a reel and you can post a story, and what's the difference? And I think that's my favorite part about Instagram because there's so many of these like micro touch points that you can have with your audience that don't exist on other social media platforms. And I'm like, my mind is, I love puzzles. I love like, thinking about things like outside of the box. So when I think about something like this is super niche, but like right now they have these little notes that you can put above your story bubble.
Okay.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but
I do. I know what you're talking about.
So if you guys go to, I believe you can find it in your DM. Let me just verify that. So if you go to your DM screen, yes. So there's like these little like thought bubbles above the story circles, and it's almost like a status update, right? Like it's there for 24 hours. But what I've noticed, and this is just an example of one of the small ways you can be creative on Instagram, is almost everyone, not barely anyone's doing it, first of all. So even if you do it, you're already ahead, but almost nobody is making them colored. And because it's one extra button to push. So if you make it colored, like I'm scrolling, mine's orange, white, yellow, white, like it stands out, right? So that's just one of the examples of ways that you can be creative on Instagram to have these like micro touches, because the more people see your little bubble with your little face, the more they're going to start to be like, wait, who's that girl? I always see her. And it's funny too, because Patty, our chapter president, I've been a dame for not even a year yet. And every time she sees me, she's like, I see you all over social media. And it's just because she's now in my orbit, right? Like she has followed me and now she's starting to see all the work I've been doing for the past months and months and months and months.
I love that. I love that. I think like one of the things I notice people struggle with when it comes to social media is feeling like the vulnerability of it, actually.
Yeah.
So what I
Yeah.
mean by that is like the vulnerability of not knowing where the button is, or
Yeah.
maybe not having a fully formed exact plan that is guaranteed success. So then we don't
Yeah.
start. And like a lot of what I've learned in social media has come from just doing it ugly, doing it messy, and then just seeing what happens and then, tweaking from there. But I noticed like a lot of established entrepreneurs who are like credible, professional people who are like they want to be taken seriously are often the ones that push the hardest away from a social media strategy, or they hire someone, they pay that person almost nothing
Yeah.
and they give almost no direction to that person. So then the very little presence that they do have is really ineffective. And so like what would you say to that business owner that maybe is having a little trouble getting over the hump on the professionalism thing? Like what would you recommend?
That is definitely a mindset shift that they're going to have to figure out. And that doesn't really come unless you either are in it and trying to do it, doing it ugly, or are taking a class, or you're getting coaching or something, right? Like there's a mindset shift that has to happen. I'll give you a perfect example. I was just came across an account this morning who's going viral. It's like a textile company, and all of their content for the past, years or whatever, it was just like professional, like pretty, like here are these pretty textiles. And then the video that went viral was their marketing girl. And she sat her boss down and just did this really authentic presentation of like, this is why you should take me to France with you, because I'm going to create all this awesome content. And it was just like so vulnerable and cute. And there was no fancy editing. It was just her talking to her boss. And it popped off because everyone was invested in this story and this cute little girl who's trying to get to France. And, that is what's going to elevate the professional content. But if you don't have that authentic content, the professional content's not really going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Because it's when people say professional content, usually they mean like the industry standard of what other people in your industry are currently posting. And they feel like, oh, I now have to post that. But in actuality, if you put all this effort into posting what everyone else is posting, you're not going to stand out at all anyway. So I don't even know if that's worth your time. But having an opinion, having a personality, like we're all so different. And I say that too with like these AI twins and stuff coming out. Like my wrinkles, my zits, like that's what's going to make people trust me at this point, because people showing up as themselves and not as AI or super filtered or whatever, that's what people are craving after, these different chapters of social media where everything had to be so picture perfect.
Yeah, I totally see that. And you're right, in a world where it's so relatively easy to produce fake content or computer generated content that, it doesn't have the zits and the wrinkles, it doesn't have the personality. I've had a lot of people over the years, I have a modest following but it's a wonderful following. And we've been doing this thing for a few years. And I remember the very first time that I got onto social media, they now call it yapping,
I
which is
know.
hilarious to me. I'm dying. I'm like, what the hell is yapping? So yapping, my friends, is basically when you're doing a face to camera rant, basically. So anyway, my very, very first time being on social media was that. Just
Yep.
speaking to the camera, no makeup, still wearing workout gear, mom in suburbia kind of deal. And I was selling high performance coaching, but my conversation wasn't necessarily coaching content. It was really more updates on what I was building and where I was going and how come and what I was being challenged by and what, was on my mind, so to speak. And that's become the foundation of my content for years. And most of my clients come from online. And it's not because I'm doing a bunch of handstands and gimmicks. It's more about the consistency and continuing to like share insights and breakthroughs. And sometimes some of my content is honestly like, I think the biggest progression I've had in content in the last year, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this, was when when I let it just be really simple. Like one of my posts right now, it literally says, it's like it's awfully hard to buy from you if no one knows you're there. Like it's just
Yeah.
super simple, like a really simple statement, and people are like, "Oh yeah, how true." And then you're getting that engagement. But I notice I get the engagement sometimes from new people, but most of my engagement comes from the same people over and over, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I was going to ask you about like the whole simplicity complexity thing too, because sometimes I see people. And I know I fell into this trap for the longest time, is I had so much pressure that like every piece of content that I ever produced is like, oh, it's got to be profound. It's got to have meaning, and I was like agonizing basically over every sentence. And
Yeah.
I do see that a lot. I see a lot of like long drama posts that are more about the poster than they are about people they're talking to. Like, yeah, what do you see works better for people?
It has to be a balance, right? Like the strategy, when people say social media strategy, for the longest time, I was like, what does that mean? Right? Like, I did it because I did like certain things that I was taught to do, but I never really like said, oh, this is my social media strategy. But the strategy really is these different like themes or different topics that you post about, or it could even be like the type of video or the type of posts that you do, right? And it doesn't all come from the same bucket. So you have to have that really like authentic, let's post without makeup. Let's just talk about what I'm like really frustrated about today. When my dad passed away, that was a point in my career where I made huge connections with my audience because once I was okay to post about it, I shared and everyone was, I lost my dad too. And like we connected over that. So that's a huge part. But if you only post about that stuff, no one's going to know your business side and no one's going to know the things that you're trying to push business wise, right? So you have to have the personal stuff, you have to have the business stuff, the like promotional stuff, which by the way, one of the biggest issues I see with realtors specifically is staying in this promotional bucket. They're too scared to stray to the personal. Okay. So then there's there's personal, there's the business, and then this other one is entertainment, humor, connection, things like that. And so I like to have a good amount of all three. And the reason is your entertainment is going to reach the most people, which is going to take the other two buckets with it, right? So if
Yeah.
you don't have that reach from the entertaining stuff, your other two buckets are going to stay low reach. Then if you have, more reach from your entertainment, then your personal is going to nurture the people that found you from the entertainment stuff. So they're going to be like, oh, she's hilarious, I'm going to follow her. And then they're going to start, oh, her dad passed away. Oh, she's a mom in suburbia. Oh, she's this. Like, and so then they're going to start connecting with you that way. But if you never share anything about yourself, you never nurture them. And they're not going to go from ha ha to buy. There has to be this
Yeah.
middle step, right? And then the
Yeah.
final piece is that promotional piece that if you just put post promotional, you're not going to get the reach and you're not going to get the connection. And so it's just going to be spammy, billboardy, you. So there
Yeah,
has to be.
that's so good. Something I realized a few years ago is they call it social media. Like the best way to do social media is to use media to be social. So, these apps, they allow you to capture video, they allow you to write, they allow you to do those little note things, and they give you options for like music you could attach and a color you could pick, and like all of those different artistic choices are ultimately using media. And then it really is asking this question, like, how could I be social? Like, if I went to a networking event and I was pitch slapping people, that's what I call it when everybody's like 100% promotion, is it's just like, that's a pitch slap. Like, who wants that? And nobody, because usually when people are being social, they're not in the zone of like making a purchasing decision, that purchasing decision will like percolate and pop up based on, yeah, maybe something you said in your marketing. More likely there's something going on like in their personal world that you don't even get to see necessarily. So I kind of look at the promotion piece as like you've got to have a path. There's got to be a pathway to buy from you, and an awareness that like, hey, I do this because all things being equal, getting back to the social thing, people buy from their friends. And if all things aren't equal, they're still going to rely on their friends for advice and recommendations. So you better be out there.
That is a great segue to the freebie that I'm offering is actually kind of an audit of that value ladder and how your last 6 pieces of content, are they actually connecting to your ladder or not? So definitely check that out in the show notes because I just made that just for you guys.
Oh my gosh, Tamany, thank you so much. Y'all definitely give her a follow. She's doing a lot of really interesting content, especially if you've been wanting to get started with AI and social media and using Claude and being more efficient with your systems. You definitely want to check her out. Tamany, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for the invite. I know it was like kind of impromptu, but I was like, yes.
Well, and before we go, I do have a quick message. Thing or two about how to make this business thing work in the context of a real life. So if you would love to sit down for an episode of the Amanda Kaufman Show and let me pick your brain in front of the people, then make sure you apply at clairevenue.com/the-podcast. Link is in the show notes. Let's get back to the show. All right. Thank you so much for being here again, Tamany. And we'll make sure that all of her details are in the show notes. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend that maybe you'd love to see them be more social on social media and have more courage with their Instagram, for example. And we'll be back with another episode very soon. Until then, make sure you do what matters.